so fresh, looking so fresh. When I walk by, breaking their necks. Waiting in line at the team store. Now I'm feeling fly like a condor. Eyes on me when I walk through the door. Man, I wish I bought a couple more, cause I really love my city. It was worth every penny. If it were at my show, then I know they gon' tip me. Think I might add a couple patches. If you think it's ugly, you capping. Now my whole outfit matching, never going out of fashion.
All right, the Padres, they have lost 6 consecutive games. They get swept by the Blue Jays. They got swept their last series, obviously, before heading on the road. And where's the offense? There was some more encouraging signs today. Really, it was one main player, though, Gavin Sheets, driving in 5 runs, homering a couple of times. That's why the Padres were even in this game. That's why this game was in extra innings in the first place. Then it was great to see Luis Ariz come through, but when the Padres were punching the Blue Jays took it and they kept punching back and they end up taking this game. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of frustration amongst Padres fans, and I get it. Losing 6 games in a row, it's really frustrating. It was really frustrating watching this game for, I mean, multiple reasons, but really what I mean to say here is there's multiple instances of why you should be frustrated, you know, in certain situations watching this team, and especially today, when it was a 2-run game and they pinch hit Lockridge for Hayward. Hayward goes in there and he doesn't even get the bat because, again, in a 2-run game, I think it was Iglesias on first. He gets thrown out at second base trying to take second base, and it's not like he was the game-tying runner or anything. That was frustrating. Gavin Sheets, while he did have a couple homers, the ball that goes off his glove at first base. I mean, yesterday, holy cow, Manny was not looking like Manny Machado out there at third base. 3 errors in 1 inning. He said that he should have hit Ariz in the chest on that last throw. That was an error on his part. Okay, maybe for his standards, sure, that was tough. But to just not be able to handle a bunt as you're coming in, and then to not handle the short hop, and you're Manny Machado, like that's a play you would say that you should make. It's just mind-boggling. Some of the baseball that we're watching here. So the good news is it is May 22nd, and the Padres, they had multiple. This is a 6-game losing streak. I get it, but they had multiple 5-game losing streaks last year. I don't believe they got to 6 games, but multiple 5-gamers last year. They didn't get off to as good of a start as they were this year, and they still managed to win 93 games. I know they had Profar, and they had talent that they don't have on this team, but there are additions that will come, I assume, before the trade deadline with A.J. Preller, because he's always active. And if you just go look at the history of these guys, Manny loves to say the back of the baseball card. I would think that things are going to turn around. But right now, wanting to react in the moment, I totally get it. If you don't think this team's going to make the postseason and, you want to go off on the offense and all that, I still think this team's a postseason team. I think those that do overreact, that's exactly what they're doing. They are overreacting. But you can fan however you want to fan. So if you want to join the show, you can click that link that's at the top of the chat. I will obviously be in the comments and looking at what Padres fans have to say. But yeah, just really frustrating these last few series. Albert says, thank you for the super chat. He says, these are the Padres I'm used to rooting for. The bad play, I assume, is what you're talking about. Well, I mean, recently, not really the Padres that we're used to. I'm not talking about these last 6 games. I'm talking about in recent years. The Padres, they've been a postseason team the majority of the time. This talent, just last year, for example, winning over 90 games and winning that wild card series and being super close to beating that team up north, and just starting off this season 15-5, or I'm pretty sure it's 15-5 through 20 games, and being able to beat some pretty good opponents earlier this year. I thought Kevin Acee did a good job in his Padres Daily. He had numbers, and this is partly why as well that I'm still not going to be in super panic mode, super concerned right now. One, it's May 22nd. But two, the history the Padres are making, the worst 5 games, where they scored 3 or fewer runs. It's happened 5 times in 5 spans, including what just happened from the 16th through yesterday's game. Like, that doesn't happen. Last time it happened was 1972. That doesn't happen. And so it's so rare that they're going to bounce out of this, I feel. 1972, May 20th through the 26th of 1972 was the last time before these last 5 games entering today that they had scored 3 or fewer runs in a 5-game stretch. Obviously, all of these times that Kevin put in his graph, they were 0-5. They were 0 for 39 with runners in scoring position before Arias came through on that hit. And, of course, just the way things are going for the Padres, right? The Gavin Sheets' first homer that he hit, it was not a hit with runners in scoring position. Merrill was on first base. Merrill was also on base for the second homer. But, yeah, not a runner in scoring position. Same for the second homer, I believe. And how did the Padres come through with the runner in scoring position? The runner was given to them in scoring position because it was an extra innings when Arias came through. So maybe some don't even really want to count that because the guy didn't earn his way to second base, but it did happen with a runner on second base. But at least, and I'll say it this way, I guess, I don't really care what anyone else thinks. At least it's not against the Pirates or the Rockies. Like, if that was happening, I think that's a little bit different. But even thinking last year, the Padres, they got swept by the Angels, and they still won 93 games, and they made the playoffs. And that was a pretty darn good team last year, So I get it. This year's team's different, but we have seen at times this year that this team can be special. It can contend with the top teams in baseball, I think. Obviously, the biggest tests of the season have not happened. I think one of the biggest tests will be coming up in June, where it's a stretch where you play the Dodgers 7 times, and in the middle of those 7 games, because it's 2 series split up, it's the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's going to be pretty tough there. I want to say the Phillies come in July. So they have had I think, a pretty easy schedule. And you don't want them to be swept. You want to take some of these games for sure. But I still have seen signs earlier in the season. I know that's not now, but earlier in the season that would lead us to believe that this team is still a good team. And again, there's going to be overreactions about, some guys in this offense, about how much they suck and, how they're not going to be able to carry a team. And there's a reason why this team's not going to be a World Series team. And like Schilt being a bad manager and all that. It's like, were you guys saying that when the Padres were 15-5 to start off the year? I don't think you were saying that. So it's just the typical overreaction that you're going to get. And I know there's going to be a lot of Dodger fans in this chat, even though this title has nothing to do with the Dodgers, but it's just going to happen because we're rent-free in their heads. That's just how it is. I do see Diego in here. He wants to. Diego, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
I could be better, but hopefully they'll get through this.
I want to show you this swing for a second, just because now you can see how much more grounded Doyle is with his eyes behind the baseball.
Well, 1 second. I do hear sound in your background, so I want to give you a second to maybe fix that. Okay.
Is that better?
Let's see now. Okay, I'm still hearing something, but I can hear you. So
Okay, yeah, my earphones are a little whack. They're a little old, Google Pixels. But there's really no words to describe anything that happened the last 72 hours. It's just they just have no energy. I don't get it. It's like if we're doing back from Friday's game, like literally the first pitch, we're already down 1-0. And then of course we just couldn't cash in on runs. And then just getting that 2-0 loss, I think that hurt just as much as today because they were so close and we should have won those games. Like should have. There's no excuse. Like I'd rather get blown out. I'd rather lose getting blown out. Well, maybe not 14-0, but then lose a game that it's in the palm of your hands, if that makes sense. Because those are the like Mark Grant said, those are the games that's a punch in the gut or below the belt, whatever he said on the air in the last few minutes. I just don't see any energy until today. It just seemed like Gavin Sheets was the only guy that had the energy. There could have been others I may have not have paid attention, but where did Gavin Sheets go? 3 for 4, 4 for 5?
Yeah, today he went 3 for 5, drove in 5 runs.
Pretty much he was the whole offense, pretty much, and can't win it with just one guy, So I don't know if there's something going on in the clubhouse, like somebody said something, and maybe there's something in upper management that's distracting our little 6-game losing skid, because I don't remember the last time we lost 6 straight games. 2023, 2021, 2019.
I thought I saw someone tweet 2023, which makes sense because they collapsed.
Well, yeah, they didn't start winning till Profar showed up, which was kind of weird. But yeah, the end 23. But as of right now, I don't know what's going on. I'm just hoping we can go to Atlanta from like we just destroyed them in the first weekend of the season. Not saying we're going to go out and get a clean sweep, but we need to win 2 out of 3 to get back on rolling again. It's just and then come back home in our friendly confines and 4 out of 6, 6 out of 6, whatever. Get back on the winning streak. So hopefully this is just a little bit of a flat tire and insurance comes and fixes the tire. You know what I mean? But
Yeah. What I would say to the energy thing, and I'm seeing people say that as well. Like, yeah, I would agree with that. But what I would also say is it's pretty easy to see, and I'll mute you real quick because I do hear the background, but I'll unmute you when I'm done talking. What I would say with the energy is when the Padres are winning, they have a bunch of energy. When they're losing, they don't have energy. And you look at, like, I would say Tatis, I think, is a frequent target. Oh, look at his, body language, or look at someone else's body language. Look at Manny in the dugout, Well, they're losing. Like, I would rather have them, look like they're really sad and the body language stinks than them not caring. Remember, was it 2023, that Dodger series where they were laughing in the dugout when they were getting swept, I think, at Dodger Stadium? Or definitely losing the series. They were losing that game for sure. And they were laughing, and we hated that. So do you want them to have energy like that, or do you want them to not have good body language because obviously they're not playing well and obviously they're not happy about it because there's high expectations for this team. And at the moment, they are totally not living up to them, losing 6 straight and going 0 for 39 with runners in scoring position and not scoring runs and losing 14-0 in a game, having Tyler Wade have to go on the mound and pitch. Like, so I get the point of not having the energy, but like you're probably going to see that with every team. If any team, the Dodgers, any team in baseball, 6-game losing streak, it's probably going to look a little bit different in the dugout. And
I completely agree. Yeah, I muted the TV. Hopefully that helped a little bit.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you're right though. I mean, yeah, it was 2022 when LA destroyed us. Like, it was like 15 out of 19, but we still got them in the postseason when it mattered. But and then 23 we kind of turned it around. 24 we dominated them. But anyway, that's beside the point. But anyways, so I'm in the Zoom class, but hold on, let me X that out. All right. Anyway, my friend, I got to get back. I was actually just took a test and I'm just got to get back to class. So wanted to pop on real quick, man.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one, man.
Thank you. Thank you, Diego. Yeah. But yeah, I think when the Padres were laughing in the dugout against the Dodgers, I want to say that was 2023 because I think Rougned Odor was a part of that, or I think I remember that correctly. So do people want that, or do they want guys not looking great in the dugout when they're sucking? I want to see that they care, and they care because, like, if their body language was great and they were like, yeah, whatever, like, we're losing 6 games. Like, you couldn't tell that they were losing 6 games in a row. I don't know how Padres fans would feel about that either. So this team cares. I think that's what the bad body language and stuff, like that's showing that they care with that. Yeah, like when I see those type of comments, it's like, well, what do you want them to do? You know? So yeah. So today, you know, it was frustrating, right? When you take a lead, especially in extras, you take a lead a couple of times, multiple times, because they scored one in the 10th, they scored one in the 11th. And right out of the gate, like right when the Blue Jays get right back up, one pitch and it's a tie game on the ball down the line. Estrada comes in the game after scoring a run. 2 pitches, it's a tie game. And it's just like, we couldn't even enjoy it for, I think Too Much Morton's put that out, and I agree. We couldn't even enjoy it for like 5 minutes. And that's just how it's going right now. So, yeah. What should the Padres do about it? I think that's a question that is going to be asked, right? When you get swept 2 times in a row, 6 losses in a row, should the Padres change something up with the lineup? And what I would say with that is, what really is there to change in this lineup? Like, I hear that brought up a little bit sometimes, like they should change something up. Well, what is that? Move Fernando? You can move him to the 2 spot and maybe put a Rise in the leadoff spot. But then, are you putting Merrill in the 3? Do the Padres want Merrill in the 3, and Manny in the 4? Because you want still that left, right. You don't want the 2 consecutive righties, I wouldn't think. And so it does change a little bit with the rest of the order. But you want your best guys, regardless of where you're, like first, second, third, fourth, for that, like whatever. Your best guys in your order, it's Fernando, it's Luis Ariz, it's Manny, and it's Merrill, and it's Sheets. And those are the hitting in the top 5. Those were hitting in the top 5 today, and those are the guys that will be hitting. Now, Bogey wasn't even playing today. I, to be quite honest, looking at the lineup, I didn't even notice that right out of the gate, which is a problem. Like, you want to notice that. Like, if they're playing well, if Bogarts was playing great, I probably would have noticed. But yeah, he pinch hit late in this game. But yeah, like, who are you? You're gonna have your top hitters in the top 5 in the order. Now, are you saying, Ben, we should have Hayward not be starting? Okay. Move someone down to 8th in the order that maybe is hitting 7th or hitting 6th, like whatever there. Okay. But the bottom line is, when the top 5 guys in the order are producing, the Padres are winning games. When Manny goes, the team goes. I think that is still pretty appropriate as well. And Manny, looking at him up right now, last 6 games during this losing streak. Let's see how he's been doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Starting with that first loss of the 6 games and then work our way most recent here. 0 for 4, 0 for 4, 0 for 3, 0 for 4, 2 for 4, 0 for 5. So one of those games he got at least 1 hit. Everything else, offers. And he has struck out 1, 2, 5 times in that span. So Manny's not going. And guess what? The team's not going. It's not a one-person thing. I get it. Like, Sheets even was great today, and the Padres lost. But historically, when Manny goes, it seems like there are other guys in the lineup that are also going, and the Padres are winning games. And that's not happening right now. I don't want it to just be a Manny thing, though. Tatis, I think he's struggling a little bit. I think these guys, in general, they're expanding the zone. Schilt has even admitted, either pregame or postgame in this series, about maybe there's a little bit of pressing going on. But yeah, recently here, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Tatis, he went 1 for 4 in all of those games against the Mariners that they got swept, but he scored 1 run in those 3 games. These last 3 games, he got 1 hit. 0 for these last 2 games. obviously scored no runs and drove in no runs. He's driven in 1 run in his last 7 games. So it's just overall. Merrill is a guy that I am more worried about than I was, at the end of the Mariners series, for example. I think Merrill can get out of it, but he's not someone that misses much. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but just based on memory, he's not someone that misses on those down the middle pitches. The other day, watching that game last night, I forget what inning, but I think it was first third of the game probably. And he gets 2 fastballs from Kevin Gausman that are down the middle, and he fouls them off. And then I think strikes out strikes out swinging on a breaking ball. And it's like, Jackson Merrill, he had 2 opportunities there to launch those baseballs out of the yard, and he fouls them off. And so he let the pitcher, he let him off there. Pitcher got a break, 2 breaks, and he ends up striking Merrill out. So just not taking advantage of when the Padres get the good pitch to hit. I think, Luis Ariz, it feels really weird for me to criticize Luis Ariz at all, hitting-wise. And I'm not going to do it very much. But to me, it seems like, and I don't have the numbers on this either, but it seems like he really doesn't swing very much at that first pitch, and it's like a statue take. And it's like, that could be the best pitch that you're going to get the entire at-bat, and you're just looking at it. Now, I don't have like numbers like, well, was it a walk the at-bat before? Is this pitcher wild? Like, why is he take? I wonder if reporters are going to be asking, what is that thought process for Luis Ariz there? But it just seems like sometimes he goes into it knowing, like, I'm taking this pitch. I think Manny does that sometimes too. I'm taking this pitch, and it's like, you should be on the attack until you know, okay, that's not my pitch. If you're going to take the first pitch and it's a strike, but it's not right down the middle, okay. But you should at least be ready to hit if a ball is going to be a meatball and they're going to, try to get ahead in a count. So, just some things that I've noticed here recently. Just the expanding of the zone, maybe not being patient enough, but then sometimes being too patient early in counts. That's what happens. There is the talk about the left field position, obviously about needing an upgrade there. Lockridge not going to have power. Hayward's hitting like 100 something. No one wants him starting in left field, and he's hitting 176. His OPS is under 500. Lockridge is sitting 211. His OPS 543. Like, he's had some good moments this year, but it is what it is with Lockridge, right? So what I have on that is like, yeah, at this point, I'd be surprised if the Padres don't make an addition before the deadline to improve that situation there. I don't know how much longer Jason Hayward is going to be a Padre at the big league level. But it seems like he's being a great teammate. Like, this reminds me of Matt Carpenter, how Carpenter was not doing well, but he was still continuing to contribute in hitters meetings and being that good teammate. And I know Padres fans are probably like, well, yeah, he's getting paid a lot of money, at least for our standards. You should be a good teammate, like, duh. But I think with those professional athletes, it could be really like, okay, I'm struggling. I'm just going to keep to myself. And I don't want this guy taking my job, so I'm not going to go out there in left field before the game with Gavin Sheets to help him with left field. I'm going to stay in, and I don't want him doing great because I want to go be in left field. But Hayward has done that. He has been the good teammate. So I do want to at least appreciate him that way, because I don't think that's going to get talked about. And I understand why. Like, it's a performance-based business. I get it. It's results. So yeah, like, with left field internally, I continue to bring up why not try Luis Camposano in left field, because the Padres don't catch him. They don't trust him at catcher behind the plate. Do I understand that? Am I okay with that? Yeah, I kind of am okay. Yeah, because I want the pitchers to trust the guy that they're throwing to. And so if they're going to trust Elias Diaz, they're going to trust Martin Maldonado, then roll with that and get offense from, your top 5 guys, right? But if Campy's going to be raking down in AAA, and if you want Gavin Sheets to not be in the field, you want to rise at first, have Gavin Sheets be DHing. You don't want him in left. You want more offensive production in left field. In the minors, you have nothing to lose by trying Campy out there in left field. There's no top prospect in left field right now in El Paso and you'd be taking playing time away from that guy, right? So try it. Eggy Rosario was playing center field earlier this year, I think. I don't know if he still is in the minors. They've been moving some guys around and trying new things. Why not with Campy? I haven't checked recently what position he's been playing, but I'm pretty sure it's been like some first base and catcher, maybe DHing too. But I'm pretty sure I would have seen if he'd been in left, because that would, be some news. And I haven't seen that yet. So that's where I would immediately turn. Like, why not try that? I know that you wouldn't bring Campy up immediately. You'd want him to be playing some games out there in left field. But why not try it? Because, and by the way, this could also help him be more attractive to other teams as well. If you want to try to get something for him, have him play left field. Maybe you want someone else before the trade deadline, but another team wants Campy, and you can get something back. So that's my thought internally about the left field situation. It with the current options, it's kind of like, yeah, put Lockridge out there. It is what it is. And let's have the guys that are getting paid a lot of money, the guys that are paid to produce offensively, let's have them perform. That's where my head's at there. Yeah, yesterday was rough. 14-0. I was listening to most of this game, and I'm like, because it was Bob Scanlon doing it, because Jesse was on TV side this series, because Don was with TBS doing that Red Sox game, and I don't think they were going to have him travel to Toronto just to go back to the United States and be in Atlanta. So he's probably in Atlanta right now. But yeah, Scan was doing the game, and I'm just like, a 14-0 game. Tyler Wade's on the mound, and Manny making 3 errors in an inning, and just how it was going, how bad it was. It just made me thought, like, what if Ted Leitner was doing this game? That would be must listen. That would make it, and nothing against Scan, but that would make this 14-0 game really entertaining to listen to. I mean, if you listen to him with the Aztecs with basketball this past year and how he'd get on the Aztecs when they weren't playing well for some stretches, he would hammer the Padres with the way that they were playing in Game 2 of this series. Some of these were homers by dudes I've never heard of, like Nathan Lucas. One of the guys has some serious wheels. I think Clement, or no, who was it? Class A, I think. Yeah, the left fielder. My goodness, he's fast. But yeah, like Manny, and it was weird because it was a game. It was 2-0 to start off that bottom of the 7th. And maybe Padres fans that were watching this didn't feel like it was a game because the way that the offense has been going. But actually, 2-0, like, it's still there. But then it just fell apart. I've seen it multiple places written about, like, how that's never going to happen again. Manny with the 3 errors in 1 inning. Yeah, it's not going to happen again. I'd be shocked if that did happen again. Him, again, that 3rd error that he made where he's running, I think it was, hit towards the 3rd baseline, throwing on the run. Like, that's going to happen. I would say a majority of third basemen in the league would probably make a throw like that instead of on the target. But with Manny, he's used to making that throw. So, yeah, that's going to be an error. And he knows he should have made that. The other two, though, it's just like, wow. Really, the bunt play. That was really the one. Like, he goes one hand with his glove to try to get it, and then he was going to throw it, I think, to first. And he just didn't get his glove down enough. Thinking about the throw before the ball's in his glove. And it's just like, can everything's going wrong. Can anything go right, is what I meant to say. Can anything go right now? And the answer was no. Just wasn't going to go right. And then I hear on the radio later that Tyler Wade's pitching, and I'm just like, because I was listening to it, but because of the score, I was kind of tuning it out a little bit, just focused on the work. And I'm just like, oh, I heard Tyler Wade is pitching. What is going on? And it's 14-0. And yeah. I saw it in AC's Tidbits. First time that Tyler Wade, or not just Tyler Wade, first time a position player had pitched for Schilt while he's with the Padres. He doesn't like to do that. He believes pitchers should pitch, position players hit. They play the positions. But there's not going to be many days off here. It was friendly. The days off, that schedule was friendly to start off the season, but it's not going to be friendly here coming up. So, down that score, like there's no reason to be throwing an actual pitcher there in that spot. But yeah, it just compounded. Randy didn't make it through 5. Alec Jacob really had to take one for the team yesterday. A 14-0 game still finished in well under 3 hours, 2 hours and 42 minutes. That's kind of crazy. Well, a little crazy and not, because Kevin Gausman on the other side went 7 innings, no runs, no walks, 9 punch-outs. So there was no offense from the Padres, and so that helped speed it along, even with the Blue Jays there having a lot of traffic on the bases late in this game. Dalton Varsho with that grand slam. And keep in mind, this was all with Merrill robbing that homer earlier in the game, too. But it happens. I mean, so we freak out about this Padres team, and okay, they lose 14-0. Remember, they won 21-0, right, against the Rockies earlier in the season. I know this was not played at Coors Field. This was not against the Rockies, but the Padres, they've shown they can put up a lot of runs too. So, yeah, it's frustrating. I was going to say confusing because of the talent that they have, but more the accurate word for me is frustrating, because it's not as confusing if you're watching the games and you're seeing some of the at-bats and some of the pitches that they're missing, opportunities they're being given and just not squaring up the ball. I will say, though, because I say squaring up the ball, and that reminds me, Jason Hayward, he did hit some balls pretty darn hard in this series. Crony hit some balls hard, and they just went right at guys. And that's baseball. You go check out the exit velocities, and you would think that those would be, or they deserve to be hits, but what you deserve sometimes does not end up happening in the game of baseball. So, really frustrating. Game 1, they lost 3-0. Had some opportunities there. 0 for 3. Not a ton, though. 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. Padres had more opportunities with runners in scoring position than the Blue Jays did, but the Blue Jays got some homers, and the Padres did not. Vladdy had a homer. Anthony Santander barely got out, but he got a homer. And that was that. Dylan Cease, that's like the main positive I feel like with this series, is that Dylan Cease, I'm not worried about him anymore. 7 innings, 3 runs, 6 punch-outs, 1 walk. Like, he did his job to keep this Padres team in this game, but the way the offense was going, actually doing the job would have been 7 innings, no runs, but we got to be realistic here. I thought he pitched pretty well. The slider is, that breaking pitch that he's known for, and that thing is working pretty darn well now. So if you look at Dylan Cease's outings here, and I'm pulling up his game logs, obviously the beginning of the season, not great. Not going long. 4 1/3 to start off the year. At a 4-inning outing on April 8th. He's gone 6 innings, once going into the May 7th outing, In his last 3 outings, he's gone at least 6 innings, 6 2/3 against the Yanks, 6 2/3 against the Angels, and then 7 innings the other day against the Blue Jays. And he hasn't given up more than 3 runs in those outings. He's not walking a ton of guys. And in the 2 middle outings, Yankees, Angels, he struck out 9 and then struck out 10. Pitch count's up there at 100. Late in games, his velo's at 97, 98. So he has it. And so that's the main positive I feel like from this series. And that's really like the only positive, to be quite honest. Blue Jays came in, I believe, with the losing record. I think they were 2 games under. And now they're 25 and 24. Yeah. So going into this series, you would think that, yeah, go take 2 out of 3. I don't care. It's on the road. I know that there's some nasty pitchers on the other side, but you just got swept, like, rebound, let's go. And that just didn't happen. There are some guys on the team like Manny that love to say, got to tip your cap. I think Schultz says that sometimes too. Merrill, though, doesn't like to say that. So it's kind of like, well, depends on who you talk to. Tip your cap or don't tip your cap. I land on the side more of like, don't tip your cap, because we've seen this year them be able to score a lot of runs off of big league pitching. So what, now they just have to give all the credit to the pitcher? Kevin Gausman, yeah, nasty. Looked more like the guy that we saw years prior, not the guy to start off the year with the ERA that he had. I think it was over 4.5, I want to say. Maybe over 4.7. But like, these guys can hit good pitching. We know that they can. So I get tired of the tip your cap excuse when these are elite guys that we have in this order, and it's just not happening. All right. We got the Braves coming up next. I will get to the chat here in a minute. I do want to give some updates here on Yu Darvish and on Joe Musgrove. So let's start with Joe Musgrove, someone that hasn't been talked about a bunch because, out of sight, out of mind. He's in sight, but not in games. Kevin Acee reported yesterday Joe Musgrove is in his first week of playing catch at 90 feet. He wants to pitch out of the bullpen this year, but 2026 is more likely. And I saw people obviously making the joke like, well, yeah, 2026, because this team's not making the playoffs. And those are people that are overreacting. This team's a playoff team. This happens sometimes, and it's really frustrating, but I still believe in this team. But yeah, playing catch, 90 feet, a couple more weeks of that probably, and then he would continue to develop, and I should say develop those distances, start throwing from a farther a distance, increase those distance. And yeah, I've never had to question Joe Musgrove's work ethic. I know he wants to be back, but he's got to listen to his body. He was mentioning to Kevin about how he doesn't feel all that great, even like now, about sometimes when he's throwing. Let me find that real quick. Yeah, he says there's times like even right now where I don't feel as good playing catch, but I think part of the understanding of the surgery and how my body is healing is not panicking on those days and giving it a day or two and going out and playing catch when I'm still a little bit sore and seeing how a body responds. And that's just what happens, it seems like, is some days you're not going to feel that great, but keep going. He mentions here at the end, my goal is just to keep moving forward. If I have to take it slow, fine. I just don't want to stop. Because you want to keep recovering. You want to keep making that progress. And so obviously listening to his body, but yeah, you don't want to stop, because once you stop, I feel like that's going to be harder to get that body going again. And that's just going to keep delaying things. So that's the small update on Darvish. The latest update on Darvish, sorry, that was the update on Musgrove. The latest update on Darvish, feeling some residual effects from his elbow issue in spring training, there remains no timetable for his return. Multiple sources said he is not experiencing pain and that there has not been a setback per se. So, residual effects, but he's not experiencing pain. The plan, according to sources, Kevin's sources, is for Darvish to remain in San Diego rather than join the team in Atlanta later this week, as had been expected. We know he was shut down in spring training with the elbow inflammation, and I want to go through this timeline here, this recent timeline of things that have been reported and all that, because this is a situation where if you're a Padres fan, yeah, you got to be a little bit concerned here. Like, what is going on? Because May 14th, Darvish made that rehab start. I think he went 4 innings, 50-ish pitches. Everything seemed to be fine. May 18th, expected to travel to Toronto with the team. Oh, great. Okay. Not going to pitch. Schilt said post-game, I think after the Mariners last game of that series. But it's like, all right, traveling with the team. Then first game of that Blue Jay series, May 20th, he's actually not with the team. No setback known. Okay. Schilt was telling the media that Darvish is playing catch and, we'll see what happens. May 21st, feeling residual effects from his elbow issue in spring training, but he's not experiencing pain. The plan, staying in San Diego, not traveling to Atlanta. So it went from everything seems fine, he's going to travel, to he's not traveling, to he's experiencing effects from the elbow issue, but the Padres seem to be saying that there's no setbacks and everything's fine. And we're just supposed to just go along with that and believe that. I'm hesitant to believe that. This feels like let's delay this as much as possible. Hopefully Darvish can get better, and then if he can't, then we'll hear more about it. But yeah, I mean, I was excited. Darvish makes a rehab, and it was like maybe he'd only have to make one rehab start, and he'd be pitching this weekend. Because I miss watching Darvish pitch and obviously help this team. And instead, we're not going to get Darvish until, I would assume, July at least. So, not great. Waldron, though, I think he is pitching. He was with San Antonio last I saw. And he got up to, I want to say, a similar number that Darvish got to pitch count-wise. I don't have the update right in front of me, but it did seem pretty positive. I think Brian Hoeing is also with Waldron in San Antonio. Let me see if I can try to find this Matt Waldron update real quick. Because he is someone that I think people have forgotten about as well. Oblique strain in spring training. But he is still here. He is still in this organization. Trying to find this here. Okay, this is from Jeff Sanders yesterday. Matt Waldron's still a ways off from returning. He pitched into the third inning on Tuesday with Double-A San Antonio. Was lifted after 47 pitches, 26 strikes. So that's interesting. With Darvish, I'm pretty sure it was around that same pitch count, but then it was like, oh, maybe he only has to make one rehab start and he'll come back. But with Waldron, it's 47 pitches, and then Jeff Sanders is saying that he is still a ways off. Maybe that should have been the timeline for Darvish as well. Brian Hoeing moved his rehab assignment to San Antonio, striking out a batter over a scoreless inning. So there's that. Ethan Salas, remember, he's out until probably at least July with the back strain, I think. So there's that. So not only do the Padres get swept twice, the injury updates aren't that great either. But a reminder, it's May 22nd. It's a long season. All right, I will get to the chat after talking about the great partners of this show, Gaglione Bros, famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries. Their main location is on Friars Road. That's where you will get their expanded menu, condensed menu, garlic fries, cheesesteaks at Petco Park, section 124 and section 319. So down the third baseline and in the upper deck. They're inside Snapdragon Stadium as well. Huge weekend at Snapdragon Stadium coming up. I hope you get tickets for both SDFC and San Diego Wave. SDFC playing at 1:45, hosting LA Galaxy. So we got San Diego versus LA. The first matchup between those two at Snapdragon. Obviously, SDFC beat LA Galaxy to open the team's history in MLS in the regular season. A victory that we SDFC fans will probably never forget, with a couple of goals and Anders Dreyer, coming on the scene the way that he did. That was pretty remarkable. So we'll see what happens at Snapdragon. Now, I know it was a TV window thing because I think the game's going to be on Fox. Why did this game have to be at 1:45? Like, come on. I think the attendance is going to suffer because the game's at 1:45, to be quite honest. And maybe even if the attendance is good, the paid attendance or whatever, you're not going to have a ton of people in their seats probably. They're probably going to be looking for shade somewhere, which you're not going to find a lot of it. But, yeah. I mean, right when I saw the schedule come out, I was like, yeah, don't love that a game against LA Galaxy, or really any game, but especially a rivalry match, is in the middle of the day at Snapdragon. But is what it is. And San Diego Wave, Jaden Shaw's return to San Diego. She already played with the national team, but this is her actual return because she's facing San Diego Wave with the North Carolina Courage. That's going to be at 7 p.m. on CBS Sports Network coming up on Sunday evening, 7 p.m. out there at the Snap. And the Padres, obviously, 3 games against the Braves. They come back home and they face the Marlins at home for 3. FreestyleCutAndStitch.com is the website for those customized jerseys. I actually was able to customize some jerseys recently as well. And if you want customized jerseys, maybe you don't see one on the site that, is like, yes, I really want that one. That is the color combo that I love. That's the player I love. Reach out to them. Reach out to Freestyle Cut and Stitch. You got their contact info on their website. They're on Instagram as well, Freestyle Cut and Stitch. And they will do their best to fulfill that request for you. They are a local San Diego brand. Padres players, they wear that basketball jersey a lot. They are big fans of it. So if you want to be like them and rock those basketball jerseys, those San Diego Padres theme, there's other themes as well. Please check them out. They've done players, they've done youth players, they've done fans, parents. They do a lot of stuff. So I definitely recommend that you check them out. Custom design, manufacturing services. And again, there's a lot of cool Padre ones out there. The brown and gold pinstripes. There's 98 as well. There's the City Connect. I have that Musgrove City Connect one. There are, I believe there's still the ones that have the PS heart on it. And if you like a design that doesn't have it on it, you can request that as well. And we'll see what they can do there. And if you want 10% off any future order, use code Talking Friars. That is the same code for SeatGeek, by the way. $20 off your first order when you sign up with your email there. But yeah, when I go on to freestylecutandstitch.com, you look at their website and you will immediately see some of these jerseys and click the shop all button and then go to made to order, and you will see a ton of great options with Padres colors, 98 theme, City Connect theme. There's the Black City Connect one that I think a lot of fans like as well, because that's different than the City Connect jersey. It's a little bit different there. A lot of 98. There's the 84 with the lowercase as well. The PS Heart ones that I'm seeing. And it's cheaper. It's like more than half the price of what you would go get at the Padres store. And they're really cool jerseys too. $60 is what I'm seeing here on this site for some of these jerseys. $80 even. And you go at the Padres team store, if I were to go to, I'll just go to Fanatics right now. But if I go to Fanatics and I look up, let's see, Padres. Even just a Nike home replica jersey, $150 on that site. And that's no player. That's just a, looks like customized Padre jersey. A youth Jackson Merrill jersey is $90. That's not including shipping on Fanatics. You can get a customized one for less than that. So again, I definitely recommend that you check them out. Freestyle and Cut and Stitch. Breaking Tea, if you're more of a shirt person, they've got Padres and Aztec shirts and sweatshirts over there as well. So I recommend that you check them out. They're not going to be producing a new one based on these last two series, but they have produced some Holy Sheets ones and Tatis ones from moments that happened earlier in the year. All right, getting to the chat. Eddie, I think this is speaking for a lot of Padres fans. What a S show, man. Jeez. Albert, Fernando strikeouts instead of Tatis. Okay, never seen that one before, but Juan says Sheets put the team on his back. The team let that man down. Yeah, 5. That's rough. 5 ribbies in a loss. Devin says, is it panic time or address the issue time? Address the issue in what way? I don't see a trade coming. Like, right now. I think the Padres would still want to wait a little bit on that. Johnny says, were Machado and Tatis actually 0 for 9 today? Machado projected to hit 10 home runs. Yeah, on the season, I think he's projected to hit 10 home runs. But we've seen Manny go on those tears where he homers. He can homer 4 times in a week, and that thing can change pretty quick. Maybe even more than 4 times a week, if we're being honest. But today they went 0 for 9. Yeah. Tatis 0 for 4, Manny 0 for 5. 4 strikeouts combined from those two guys. Jovan says we're cooked. I think that's an overreaction. Jake Cronenworth is lazy. I think that's an overreaction. I get, like, are you guys saying that when Jake Cronenworth is producing, when the Padres are winning? I don't think that you remember, like, the pieces that have been written about Jake Cronenworth's work ethic and how he's been struggling in years past and how much work he's putting in to try to fix that stuff. So when I read that stuff, that makes me totally not believe those takes about the laziness. Someone here, probably a Dodger fan, saying, quote, I'd rather be swept by the Mariners, because that's a tweet that I put out. Yeah, I still stand by that. And I think people are, like, they don't comprehend very well, because in that tweet, I said, of course, you never want to be swept, but I'd rather be swept by the Mariners than the Angels. The Dodgers were swept by the Angels last weekend, the same weekend that we were swept by the Mariners. Would you rather be swept by a team that's not going to make the playoffs, or a team in the Mariners that has nasty pitching and very well could make the playoffs, and they were leading their division at the time? And I don't know if they are now. They probably still are. I'd rather be swept by the better team. So, yeah, I still stand by that take, and I don't care what you Dodger fans have to say about it. Padres could be squeezed out of the wild card race. Okay, it's May 22nd. I think it's a little bit early to be talking about that. But what I will say is if the Padres miss the playoffs, we will look back at this 6-game losing streak. We will look back at I think it was 30 scoreless innings earlier in the year. Yeah, it's been a little worse. Like, let's not forget 30 scoreless innings, maybe not a little worse, but around this bad, right? 30 scoreless innings earlier in the season. And I feel like some people have forgotten about that. So we'll look back at these two stretches here and be like, yeah, the Padres don't deserve to make the playoffs because of what happened earlier in the year. It wasn't like oh man, unlucky. But yeah, talking about the wild card race right now, could be squeezed out of the wild card race. Sure, they could. A lot of things in baseball could happen. That doesn't mean that they will. And again, it's May 22nd. The Padres are playing this bad, and they're in a wild card spot right now. So if you want to bring up the wild card, there's the facts right there. And in the division, playing this bad, they're 3 games back. And they haven't played the Dodgers once this year. So, like, it's not the end of the world here. J-Fly says this offense has been terrible all season. I disagree and agree. Like, I forget exactly what category, but I want to say, I'm pretty sure homers. They're one of the worst teams with the homers. Maybe RBIs or runs scored. They're not at the top. But remember, the pitching was so great earlier in the year, and that was a huge part of their success. So I wouldn't say terrible. I'd say disappointing. But I don't think it's been terrible all season. I think the pitching hasn't been as good, especially the bullpen. And so that has helped the Padres lose more games right now. But obviously, the main part of this, the main problem is the offense. No, not signing Chris Taylor. Might as well have Hayward and Lockridge still. Atlanta is going to beat the S out of you guys. Isn't that what some may have thought earlier in the season? And then what happened? Padres swept them. How have the Braves been doing? They're 24-24. 6-4 in their last 10. Plus 9 run differential. The Padres is plus 20, even after losing 14-0. Sam says, Ben, I'm sick of hearing no need to worry. This is absolutely absurd. What a fraudulent team. It's year after year. They get our hopes up and they crumble and blow up. So they crumbled last year. They won 93 games. Sure, they crumbled the last couple games there against the Dodgers, but if we're talking like the large sample size, that's not blowing up. That's not crumbling. I feel like a lot of these comments you need to add right now at the end of it because it's a lot of general statements and it's like, no, that's false. Rent free or you wanted a rivalry? Pick one. That's from a Dodger fan, I assume. I mean, your own manager has said that it's a rivalry, so it's not us wanting the rivalry. That's just a fact that it is one. So, no, Padres fans do live rent free in Dodger fans' heads. It's pretty clear. I mean, you guys are all on what's today? Today's Thursday? A Thursday afternoon, you guys are all in a Padre fan chat when the Dodgers didn't play the Padres. The Padres played an American League opponent. Like, you don't have work or something. You don't, if it's your day off, you don't have something else better to do. So really, it's rent free for Dodger fans. We're rent free in your head. I think that's what it is. Yeah, lots of Dodger fans in here. Padres are top heavy, top players are struggling. I mean, when top players are struggling, every team in baseball is probably not going to be playing too well. So I don't think that's like something that's a big Padres problem. That's just how it is in baseball, I think, a lot of the time. If Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, and Trey Turner are all struggling, I wonder how the Phillies would do. If they're not getting any hits with runners in scoring position and they're striking out, how would the Phillies be doing? Same thing with the Yankees. If Aaron Judge was struggling, if a couple other of their top guys were struggling, how would the Yankees be doing? Probably not great. I know they're sucking hard, Jeffrey. Jeffrey says, Ben, take off your rose-colored glasses and look at reality. Right now, the Padres are sucking and sucking hard. Guess what? You said right now. So, yes, you're accurate. Yes, they're not playing well. I understand that. But just because they got swept now doesn't mean that they're a bad team overall and doesn't mean that they can't go do something at the end of this season. I'd love to hear all these Padre fans, that are saying that we're cooked. I'd love to see you back in the chat, in August and September. Let's see where we're at. Are we cooked? I get to the chat after I'm done giving my thoughts, DG. That's what happens for every show. Because if I just look at the chat the whole time, then I'm not going to get to all the points that I have in my head from a series. Here's a measured comment from Keith. It's still very early. Padres just need to focus on getting to the playoffs and hopefully going in hot. The one concern I have with the lineup is we seem to be very streaky, kind of an all or nothing. Okay, yeah. I think I said this the other night that, like, with the stretch of these games the Padres are on of not scoring and the offense not doing good, this is what could happen in the playoffs, like we saw at the end of last year. So that's where I could be concerned, down the road. But, like, again, I'll say this, what I said the other day. Overall for this season, I still think the sample size will be big enough where we'll see that this is still a good offense and the Padres will be a playoff team and they'll be success. But yeah, in a short series, I mean, all these Dodger fans in the chat, you saw it with your own team in 2022 and in 2023. In a short series, how'd that go? So yeah, it can happen to any team where you just don't hit for a few games and your season's over. And so, yeah, this stretch, yeah, that can be a concern. Like, keep that in the back of our heads long term. So, yeah, thank you for that comment, Keith. Yes. And it's still It's still, I wouldn't say very early because it is almost June, but it is early still, yes. The bullpen, Daddy Warbucks, what a name. Our bullpen, I wouldn't say they're getting taxed super hard. I mean, not the back end, not the big guys. I post that bullpen chart before almost every game. And Suarez before today, he had, I think, more than 4 days off. Same thing with Jason Adam. Estrada had 3 days off before pitching back-to-back days here, at least 3 days off. Morejon pitched yesterday, had at least 3 days off the day before. Like the bigger guys in this bullpen, it's more of the Wandys that are getting more taxed because of the score in the games and the Sean Reynoldses of the world than the back end guys. The back end guys were getting taxed when the Padres were winning games because they were close games and you needed those guys to come in and pitch. But yeah, overall, yeah, they need to get it together for sure. Coming up, before I end this here, just want to go over their schedule one more time. To close out May, they got the Braves and the Marlins, and then off day on the 29th. The Pirates, we'll see if they miss Paul Skeens or not. Still have not faced him yet. And they got the Giants, the Brewers, and the Dodgers. No days off with the Pirates, Giants, Brewers, Dodgers. And I'm talking about this stretch. I should include the Royals in this stretch, by the way, because I said a stretch of the Dodgers, D-backs, Dodgers. From June 9th to June 22nd, it's the Dodgers, the D-backs, Dodgers, and the Royals. Those are all teams that could be playoff teams. So, yeah. And who knows what's going to happen in that National Series. And then that road trip after that includes going to Philly to play the Phillies. So, yeah. They got to get it together. And you love the offense to break out so you could get these high leverage guys a little bit more rest as well, like they have unfortunately gotten with the games that they've been in recently, so that they can be ready for this stretch here. But yeah, not in the month of June, they have 2 days off the entire month. The 12th and the 26th. 2 days off. We'll see how they do. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Talking Friars. Ben Fadden signing off. Thank you so much for the time. Much appreciated. And let's hope that more than one Padre can produce, I should say, because Arias came through. But let's hope at least a few Padres can produce starting in Atlanta coming up on Friday.